demo day. Blijven staan voor die pay. En ik schreef een BDV, maar daar doe ik niks meer mee. Demo day. Blijven strijden voor die pay. En ik schreef een BDV, maar daar doe ik niks meer mee.
Hi, and welcome to How to Demo the podcast. I'm Marina Toeters, and I'm currently doing my final master project at the Faculty of Industrial Design at the Eindhoven University of Technology. With this podcast, I'm gathering and sharing insights on the why, how, and what of the demo day together with staff, students, and alumni of industrial design. If you've got no clue what I'm talking about, I invite you to go check out the very first episode of this podcast series, as it explains everything about my graduation project and gives you a good insight into why the rest of the content of this podcast is the way it is. On today's episode, I'm talking to Marina Toeters. She's currently an industry liaison for the Crafting Everyday Soft Things squad at Industrial Design. But before that, she's had many different roles within the faculty, from coaching to managing an entire squad. And with this, she also was responsible for organizing a lot of demo days. So you can imagine that she had some interesting ideas and insights to share within the topic of the demo day. What I loved most was how she was very open about still trying to figure out how to present prototypes herself, and how she advocated for a messier and more experiential approach to the demo day. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Marina. Okay, welcome to another episode of the How to Demo podcast. Today I'm joined by someone who's described by our students as a fashion industry expert and also an expert on trends and research. She is Marina Toeters. Welcome. Could you maybe introduce yourself to our audience?
Thank you so much. Yes, very welcome here in my house and studio. Happy to talk about the demo day. And also what can be improved there, I think, or what, well, at least that's always something that I'm aiming for. We do a lot of things, but it can always be better. I'm a designer in fashion technology. I have my own company since a bit more than 10 years, where I try to bridge the gap between all the technical advances and that's what's then in the end hardly being applied into garments themselves. Mm-hmm. I try to do that with the means of prototyping, and this is all very familiar language and educational approach for you, for the industrial design department in Eindhoven, but for the world it's still quite a new approach. So I work with just by showing the world how garments also could become or be, and more into the well, also how to get things produced, how to design a total ecosystems that you also can maintain those kind of very special serviceable items. How can you do work on the guarantee system? How can you recycle them? How can you design a total ecosystem? So that's what we are lately more and more working on, but still by the means of prototyping and building the things. So that's also what you just saw in the studio that we are
I was getting excited immediately seeing the 3D printer and all the pieces of fabric laying around.
Yeah.
It's really nice to see that in a real company. Can you maybe tell a bit more about why you are doing this work? You already mentioned that this approach is a bit uncommon in the industry, and also, let's just go from there.
Yeah, so the why is of course on a lot of different levels, I think. So why I'm working in fashion tech is that I'm educated as a fashion designer, but found that the world of fashion is hardly innovating. Only the colors and the shapes are changing over and over, which they name then trends. Mm-hmm. But the materials and how they are made and how they are being used, well, they hardly developed. Like polyester is the latest material.
I saw it in the movie on your website. It was like, wow, this is tragic.
Yeah. So and I think the value of garments is decreasing so much. So also we have a huge impact in our world with our garment production, very globalized. So there are a lot of improvements to be made. So that's the why in this field. I think that technical advances can help finding better ways to produce, to wear, to make, to care for garments, and also that garments can start taking care of you way more than they currently do. So that's the why in this field. And I started my company right away after I finished university, because actually this was not a job back then. It didn't exist or something in that area. And I wanted to bridge those companies. So if you're gonna work for example, Philips, who did, of course, already a bit of research in the field, mainly also in the direction of healthcare, etc. But then you are into a company, and I wanted to, well, my ambition at least is to bring those worlds together via different kind of companies. So that's why I thought it would be better to start my own company so that I can do more this consultancy task. And then consultancy, well, that's the thing that you also mentioned. I try to answer all your questions in like one.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
Consultancy is very often making reports or advices or whatever in written text. And that's certainly not what I do. I always make things, so I show things how it can be different. And then you can demonstrate with it and make it experienceable, and then you can, well, I think you can convince people way more.
Than with a piece of text. I think that actually relates very nice to industrial design also, because I think that one of the things that that most of our students do very well is really to make this sort of vision that they have experiential.
Yeah. And maybe then I'm gonna answer one more why.
Yeah.
So when I started this working in this field, I thought, whoa, there's so much work to do before we can innovate the fashion industry. So I thought we need to be more. We need to be with many people. So that's why I also started to educate. Almost immediately. In Utrecht School of Art, where I also graduated myself, where it's all about fashion design. I still work there a bit, also in Saxion, in Enschede, where it's all about textile technologies. So way more the structures of the material itself. And then industrial design in Eindhoven a little later. But I always explain it to the outside people. It's all about interactivity around the body, and also thinking about the complete ecosystems where they belong to or where they should behave in. And bringing those three together already at a student level, I think then make it way more easy also later to collaborate between those different fields. And that's also what I try to do during, if there is a chance for a demo day, or try to get the companies along or the students along, and try to sometimes also during the year, but that's of course a very nice place to give external support overview.
Yeah, exactly. Can you maybe give a bit more information about your role at industrial design and how it developed, or how you've been involved with the faculty? And for how long also?
I think I started in about 2010. First as a freelance coach. Very specifically because they didn't, back then they didn't have any knowledge on fashion design in the team. And so that's how I started off in the Wearable Sensors Lab. I had, I think the semester before, I had an intern from industrial design, and so I got used already a little bit in that kind of thinking. And I've been a few years as a coach, and then I became team leader of the Wearable Sensors team, squad, part.
Lab. It changes every 2 years, I believe.
So a little bit more on setting also a vision on which kind of projects they should do, because not only for educational activities, but also for our research at the end now, which is a little bit more long term. But my responsibility was in the educational side. Then I went out for a bit and came back as an industry liaison.
Which you are now.
Which I'm
what does that mean for the students who do not know this?
I'm in the crafting everyday soft things squad, where we work, of course, with the professors, with research assistants, etc. On educational activities, but we also have 2 industry liaisons. One person is Koen van Os from Philips, so a youth company, and I'm the second one from a very small company. And I think these kind of different perspectives are really nice for the students to relate themselves to. So we tell about what we do and how we approach design or how we approach our jobs. What comes along with it. We give also a workshop in more business thinking, and next to very much expertise things like how to drape on a body or how to integrate technology in garments and those kind of things. But I am also sometimes giving a lecture or a workshop or whatever in. But the main role is to make the connections to the outside world. So the research that is being done in the industrial design department also is going to be present in the outside world, and that the questions from the outside world also can be reflected on by the TV students. So bridging the two. In practice, it also means that I'm arranging a new machine that could be used in the wearable sensors lab, because someone is willing to sponsor it, but also willing to learn more about what the properties of this machine are and how we can make better applications for that, and try to organize those kind of very practical things. Next to that, I'm supporting a few PhD researchers more also in the field of innovative textiles or garments, or for example, a project from Mohammed, what's all about an automatized zipper system. But then you are on.
I think I know the poster of it.
Yeah, with a very pretty girl.
It's somewhere upstairs in the building, and I was like, wow, this is such a nice picture.
Also making things a little bit more communicatable, not only in like the scientific world, but also in the more industry-related world.
Is that difficult? Making the research more approachable for the industry and vice versa?
It's different. You need a different kind of way to communicate, and the researchers are mainly educated and equipped in how to produce papers, and as we in industrial design have a very good collection of researchers there, of course there's more emphasis on that direction and how to communicate it, than in just making pretty pictures or So no, I wouldn't consider it difficult, but it's different, and you need to, as an industrial designer, you have to do this balancing act to be between those fields, and I think balancing makes it quite difficult.
Yeah. How do you see that in the students, this balance that they're trying to achieve between these different fields of communication, so to say? Yeah,
well, I think there's a lot of demands on specifically the industrial design students. This communication thing is one of the balancing acts that they have to do. But see already the competencies that they have to work on. And I'm now talking about they, but you are one of the examples.
Yeah.
So you have to know about this technology, and you have to be able to make, and you have to be able to write about it, and you have to be able to reflect upon it, and you have to And now I only were mentioning like 30% of the things that you have to do.
Yeah.
While in a fashion design context where I'm coming from, is the focus is way more on this making and pattern making and the textile qualities, and it's way more like specific. And of course we also have to know an awful lot and exactly as much as you have to do, but way more in depth instead of in the width. And that's I think that's a very a big difference. But on the other hand, we also need those people that tie everything together, and that's very pretty to see. What you sometimes see as being a result out of like, we need to do it all, then it can be all very much on a superficial level, and that's sometimes a bit scary that you think, technology, textile quality, shaping, and altogether it's like a wonderful job, and that's sometimes and I think also when you have like all these kind of aspects on this level, I think then you are an excellent student in the end, because you are very much a generalist and you can do it all, but then it's hard to profile yourself also. So
I think that's a really interesting comment, that actually when you achieve this sort of level for everything, that you're an excellent student, because I know that is not how most students experience it themselves, but also not how they experience being graded on the work that they do. Maybe this is an interesting point to go towards the demo day, because this is an event where we showcase our work. And the students that I interviewed up till now, they seem to struggle a lot with exactly what you mentioned. Like, I did all of these things. How am I going to show this? Before we get into the specifics of that, what do you see as the role of the demo day within our education?
Yeah, it's totally opposite as what I just said about like if you do everything more good. Mm-hmm. And of course you want to do everything very good, huh? That's of course the bottom line. Then you're an excellent student. But that's just not feasible and not realistic. And also not sustainable. We also have to survive for the, with our.
We need to live.
We need to live as well. So don't get me wrong that if everything is on a one level, then it's good enough. But yes, I see the suffering of this, and I think there it also comes that you also have to learn to be a little bit strategic in how to communicate yourself and how to position yourself, because yes, I think if you can do everything, then for me, as well, becoming a future employee or whatever, I love those kind of people that can do everything a bit. That's just super handy. But to come into a company, you have to stand out on some way, in some kind of element, and that's also if I talk about students, then you generalize very often.
Yeah, but I think that's sort of the only way that we can talk about this.
Yeah, let's make it a little bit more personal. Like, I'm coming in companies or in at my client's table because I can make prototypes for very early stage interactive garments. This very specific thing that how I approach it in which field and which aim I have. That's why they ask me, and that's why this one person tells, but you have to get something made and interactive, and then so that's how I also get along via communication and get new clients. So this is my standing on out point. But next to that, I used to have a graphic design study. I have contacts with like TUE people. I can do a little bit of accountancy things.
Yeah, because just even looking at your website, I was like, wow, you can do everything.
Yeah, no, of course that's not true, but this is like...
But it is a very diverse skill set that you are also presenting to the outside world.
Yeah, but I only come in for this integrating technology into garment thingies. So this is the thing that's on my business card, and But I stay there because also should communicate it. We also should like do user testing. Oh yeah, but then you need another kind of prototype. Oh yeah, but we should also do that. And that's the diversity makes that you are of more value for or on a longer term for your client.
And because you can stay for a longer process than just this one problem that needs to be solved.
Yeah, and I can address a bit, and not that I can do it all myself. That's, my programming and electro technology and those kind of things are not on level at all. But yeah, therefore I have also again a network that I can tap into. But I don't want to talk too much about myself, but more if you talk about students, then it becomes such a generalized story. But this one thing, and that's also how I approach at least like the older year demo days. This one thing should stand out because you are presenting your work with like $200.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think a maximum of 20 is feasible for me to see, and then a maximum of 10 or something is feasible to refer to, like that I have externals with me, and then they say, oh, what are the best things to look at, or like peer coaches or whatever. Yeah, you're never gonna mention more than 10. So like out of this 200, you have this 5% that you're gonna refer, and then you need to stand out. So there is this one. I'm a fashion technologist thingy, but then it should also look pretty and should. So that's that are the few that I try to promote. And to be honest, also of course, as I'm way more interested and knowledgeable into this textile field, if it's all about cars or games, then also I can discuss it. So that's not that I'm gonna.
Yeah, but that's also your job to focus on more of the fashion technology aspects. Yeah. What I think is interesting is that you actually say it's important to focus on this one aspect in your presentation, or to really make that stand out. But then again, in order to do that, there needs to be all of these other things around it to make that happen. I think that is sort of representative of also the design processes that we engage in, because we are working towards this one specific goal or thing or problem we're trying to solve, but we do a lot of stuff around it. Do you think that there is a way to relate this quite complex process to all these different parts of a presentation, or is that even relevant?
Yeah, well, I'm quite happy that I'm not sure if I'm going to answer your question, so maybe you have to ask it again. But what I'm quite happy that you have now this demo day, and then a little bit later you have the assessment moment. And the demo day was very much tied up with the assessment process, more than it currently is. So in the demo day, you can also bring across different things. Well, on the one hand, of course, students feel it as an assessment moment. But I think positioning yourself is a way more important thing, and keep this assessment thing for this like 1 or 2 weeks later activity.
Yeah, because there is a dedicated moment for that.
Indeed. So positioning yourself via your product or project that's the most valuable thing. There is a difference between like the group projects and like the bachelor projects and the final projects, of course, final bachelor, final master. So I also feel that I'm approaching those kinds of projects differently. So on the one hand, yes, the project needs to have something attractive or new or pretty or whatever. But then in the second thing, if it's like the final project and it's also an individual thing, then this personality should fit this. At least then then I'm gonna go on. Then I'm getting excited, and I think that's also something very important. In the beginning, you don't know which kind of fish, which kind of area, which kind of da da da. So then just experiment as much as possible and make sure that it's crazy and much and da da da. And,
you mean in your first few demo days?
yeah. Also, that's what I then like, because if there's a lot, then that's crazy things, and it's like breathing energy, and that's always nice.
What do you mean
to
crazy
see
things?
Well, last demo day there was this big, quite ugly printer with silicone into hair gel, making shoe soles, and you think,
What's
and it was quite ugly, but it attracted me because it was a big thing, and there were like 4 very enthusiastic students next to it. Like, this is well, and then if it's like, well, I often fall in love with pretty things, but this was not pretty at all, and I fell in love with it. So that's then the exciting things happening. What I like, but a little bit later, then it comes way more to that this person next to it also fits it or something, or breathes it, or because then a little later it's not too much anymore about the projects, but way more about the personality, and the expertise, and that it's coherent or something, that it's fitting.
Can I ask a question here? Do you think that the demo day, as it is now, is viewed by people in a way that this is possible, or that students actually make use of it as a way to explore what kind of crazy things they could present, or as a way that they could really profile themselves? How do you see students using this opportunity?
Yeah, you know way better because you are amongst them.
Yeah, but I want to know your perspective.
So, no, I think, and I also understand why, but that they approach it way more as these are the rubrics and these are the assessment things, and did we do this and and sometimes also, but that goes for the younger years more. Let's make it very communicatable, which is on the one hand a good thing, but on the other hand everyone wants something different. So then I sometimes say, one thing that should be like the core things, but make sure that behind the curtain you have like the box of all your 20 pre-prototypes that you develop, because there's always someone going to ask, but you did wood, why not blah blah blah, and then you can pull the plastics and the textiles and the examples, and then you say no, but this is and this is.
So you're actually really stimulating to have the entire process available.
Yeah, and of course this is also opposite to what I said before. Like it's one thing, but the availability of process I love.
Do you also think that is still important for the like students who are a bit further on in their education? Because you did make this clear distinction between, well, if you're in sort of the first years of either your bachelor or your master, to go crazy, explore, but when you come towards graduating, be sure to really show who you are.
It also depends on your ambition and who you are. If you are a very explorative person and you want to dive totally into this R&D kind of field, then the total thing should breed an R&D kind of feel. But if your ambition is, if you are very much equipped and good in like finishing off this very nice, whatever it may be, then that should be the thing. So So I think, and I'm an R&D kind of person, and I like to now you've seen my studio. It's like a huge mess, and I love it. I can't work without this mess. So this is something that, and also people ask me for, like in very early stages, to come up with a lot of ideas, be very explorative. So yeah, I'm very happy to show then this big mess. And people don't ask me, or also sometimes, but then I refer them to others, to finish off things very neatly. Yeah? And then that's just not my cup of tea. So if I'm gonna build a presentation, it's more likely to see a lot of different perspectives, all in this fashion tech, because I have this tiny starting point, but then a lot of different options. Then that I'm gonna present this perfect finalized wedding dress or whatever. But that's my identity.
Yeah.
And I think that's also what I love to see in this, because if you have this very nice delicate clock or whatever there hanging, then I love to see this very nice delicate approaching person next to it.
Yeah.
Then it suits. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, to me at least. I'm curious about your perspective on whether you think this approach to the demo day, which is actually really more explorative or more personal in a way, if that is actually supported right now by the faculty.
Yeah, well, as I had a lot of different roles, I also know the complexities in there.
I know as well.
So you want, as an industrial design department, you want to show off, and show the best things, and give them a platform, and then if there's all this explorative bullshit there happening.
But you just said that might not be bullshit.
I love it, and I'm diving into it, and on the other hand, you want to give the students as much freedom and space to do totally their own stuff. As I organized the demo days also a few times, that was one of my side tasks when I also started as a coach, and when, of course, when being a team champ, there was the responsibility was at my
on your shoulders.
maybe shoulders indeed. So thinking a bit on where the load was, but often it felt like the shoulders, and we experimented quite a bit with giving them the total freedom, letting them build like catwalks themselves, and being very rigid, giving them this tablecloth thingies and lines and formats in how they have to print their stuff. And still it's a total balancing act that the designers should do, that we as a faculty also do. And also, I don't have a straight answer there.
No, I don't expect you to. That's why I'm talking to a lot of different people.
Yeah.
But can I maybe ask you this, from the demo days that you then did organize, of experience with the different approaches that you tried, which did you like best, and which did you feel worked best for the students?
Well, the things that are still in my mind are the total free ones. But also, then you feel it already. I'm this explorative person, so I like the more autonomic approach. With this like crazy catwalk, it was not too pretty what's on there, but that they dared to do it, and that the students were like very proud next to it, and like really showing off their stuff on the models. And, that makes me just very proud and happy, and also then I'm also a proud presenter. I love to show that around. So for me, that are positive things. Also, but yeah, you see then also students feel hard there. It's, you can do it either direction. And then the more safer things with cloth and the formats, yeah, then everyone can go for it. I like the risky ones a bit better myself.
Okay. Let's see. Maybe it's interesting to relate back a bit to your work, because you already said like, okay, I'm more of this messy person, I make prototypes, that's also why my workspace is messy. So what if you had to give a demo day presentation of one of your projects?
Yeah, well, one of the reasons that I like to have you here already now, because we were like discussing about planning things, is that I'm gonna do a demo, an exhibition during this design week, and that I'm also hesitating there. How should I bring them across? And also, yeah, because you specifically, I think, also wanted to talk about interactive products, which have again another kind of needs for it. So I'm totally hustling in that area currently, and maybe I'm gonna make use out of this podcast to have a little bit of commercial time.
Yeah, sure. That's okay.
Because maybe you have to come and experience it in just a little less than a month of time in at the Campina area, where we're gonna build an exhibition in fashion, future design for the present.
Okay.
It's being called, I try to make it Ratjetu in this. I don't know, quite a mix of all kinds of projects. Just to show these kind of different perspectives. But I'm also very curious how if the public is gonna eat this or understand this.
So
or,
you are going to make it more messy and raw in a way.
At least that's my plan. But that was I don't have too much presenting expertise. Well, again, because my expertise is way more in the beginning of stages. But I did an exhibition during the Material Experience event last January, where we also had these crazy ideas on putting like as much prototypes and as much thingies in this space. I had like this 9 by 9 meter area and with
That's
a
quite
robot and but in Ahoy that's tiny.
Yeah, okay, but still.
and with a lot of other projects and I think we were like by far the most filled and the most
Engaging? Maybe?
engaging. No, well, there was a lot to experience, way more than, and there were like 6 pavilions. And I think, engaging is then the second thing that you want to achieve. Once people came in, they stayed in.
Okay.
And that was really nice to see. But I think the other pavilions were a little bit, because it was more open and more free to enter, so they passed it quicker. They went in quicker, but they were out like in a few seconds, while they came in at our pavilion. But then also I had this vision on to load it up to the roof, but I didn't manage. And also there was this fair organization which polished everything nicely and made like very nice labels and get very coherent. And so I of course I needed the help there and to make it also understandable.
Yeah.
I think in those kind of balances, and now I'm doing a bit more alone, so I think it's going to be a little bit more crazy, but maybe also.
So you're really
crazy.
focusing on the experience factor of your designs.
Yeah, and also on the dynamic feel when being there.
Okay. What do you mean by that? The dynamic feel?
also back then we had some production thingies running there, so people were making a social. And now we have this one space which is more an exhibition setting, so quite static. We still are developing, but come and see if we manage to do it. This lopende band.
I'm also recording an intro and an outro. I will ask you afterwards exactly the details and mention it, so people can come in and get some inspiration for their own demo day.
Yeah, let's see. Maybe it's going to be a big mess. We're still in the process.
No, maybe it's good.
So you never know. But we're going to make it as kind of a transport system that the garments pass by. So there is some kind of dynamics going on, but then in the second hall, second area, we make a workspace. So we're just gonna make things there. Also, because I think I like it to talk while making instead of just talking there 9 days long. Then we can also feed those kind of makings into the exhibition again. And not that the exhibition is going to be fixed from day one on.
I really like what you're saying about I like to be making it while I'm showing it. Do you think that that's something that could happen at the demo day?
Yeah, well, the thing what I just mentioned with the quite ugly 3D printing happening in the gel system, that one was running there. Yes, lovely. Yeah, this activated approach, and yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it totally doesn't work because I'm looking at a 3D printing process. I think that's kind of boring by now, but sometimes it's totally engaging.
And that could also again then relate to what your specific expertise is on what it is that you do there. Because I already mentioned that I had a conversation about my project with one of my friends, and what our conclusion sort of was is that the demo day just isn't alive right now. It's because of the static format, or maybe because it's unclear what the purpose is, but we felt like there is so much we could use it for if we make it more part of our projects, to really use it as use it as part of the process instead of, it's this point where we have to present and we need to have a prototype and a poster and that is what we're presenting.
And yes, we did it! Boom! And everyone is burnt out at this event.
Exactly. And it's this 1 week in the 20 weeks that you have, of which you basically only have 15 weeks to actually make your project, and you just lose this 1 week on making this stuff of which most people think they have to make. But we thought it might be more interesting if we start thinking about ways that we can actually not make it an endpoint, but make it an integrated point.
Well, what we also there are some experiences in midterm demo days. So during a process, running a demo day, then you have way more the freedom feeling. But that gives also an opposite thing, because this is also quite schizophrenic from my side, I think. But at the final demo day, I also take people in, and sometimes also during the midterm demo day. But last 2 weeks ago, we started off for 1 week, and then I took 2 people with me, more as some kind of an inspirational meeting. So they were going to explain how their professional life looked like. But in the squad is also this first hour they make tiny exhibitions, and they also show around. And so the students showed their work that was 1 week old, or 1 week of thinking in this specific field. And then on the one hand, you then need the people that have also a free mind. So these were 2 designers, so then it's perfectly fine. but if you have like more industry people who are interested in how certain kind of processes could be applied or something, then in every student I make this excuse from, this is a project that's only in a starting phase, but like see the potential here and here, and I need to do a lot of talking because I see the potential, but they not yet. And that's also something, if you want to show off, then this midterm is a little bit more complex. But also, I think if industrial design wants to show off, then you would just go to mind to step. And that's also, and I think it's quite important to divide those kind of activities.
Okay, so you're actually saying that the demo day isn't necessarily like the show-off moment.
And I think it could be the engaging moment for externals, so also have them, but the externals can be totally engaged by seeing all the explorations. But it also, of course, depends a bit on who you want to engage with.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is what's really difficult because I think that we as students are actually really engaged to take our own path and follow our own dreams, so to say. But this makes it so that everyone will have such different outcomes, and then
pretty, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I think that's the epic part of what we're doing. But anyway, we also one comment that almost every student makes is, I want it to be more like the design academy. during the Dutch Design Week.
No, me not.
Yeah, I always think that that's really an interesting comment because, I don't think it can be in a way. I'm not really sure where I'm going with this, but
yeah, I think my experience in there is that in first instance it's definitely always more pretty than theory.
But that's also one of their focus points.
Yeah. And it's their only focus point. So, not 100% the only focus point, of course, but and this is a little bit the same thing as what I just mentioned in this material experience thing. Yes, it's way more easy to eat it. It attracts way more people, but they also pass along way quicker. And that's also what you see when in industrial design. When last time, at least in the December demo day, I had like maybe 15 to 20 external connections there, and almost everyone had like this click with like one or two people, and then if they have this click, then they are spending there for like 30 minutes, and they are afterwards emailing me like, I talked with this la 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 boy, and he was doing la la la. Can you give me his contact details? Well, how much value is this?
Yes.
And you only need like
one
of each for each visitor. That's at least my minimum aim. And also because you of course you can do more. Those kind of people come there for like 2 hours or something. Yeah, if they're gonna like walk around, then you are already gone for 1.5 hours, and you have then time for one person to dive deep.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's the total difference between that's how they show it and how you experience it at Mind to Step. And also there often it's not as pretty and as eatable, but yeah, if you spend a little bit more time, then you think whoa, that's also what you want.
Yeah, so maybe we also need to instruct our demo day audience a bit better on what it is that they're actually getting themselves into.
Yeah, because do you experience that you get a lot of comments? Like negative comments?
No, it's the most negative comment that you get is people looking at your poster and what's on your table and not understanding what they're seeing and passing by.
Yeah.
That's the most negative feedback that you get, and all the other interactions that I personally have is actually always really positive, because the people that decide to talk to you are already interested in something that they're seeing. And when they are, well, then I can share my passion and what it is that I'm working on. So no, I actually don't experience negative comments.
No, and I think also, again, I try to pass maybe 50% of the projects, like running around.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, this number of like maximum 20 that I actually can talk to. So also don't experience it as a negative thing, because if I as a visitor or whatever is passing, it's not because I'm judging this project as being stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not fitting for my interest at that moment in time, or my expertise, or whatever. And you can't fit to everyone's expertise and interest and at that moment in time, and that's also totally not the case. Maybe that's also something else that I learned when I was just starting off my company, is that they said, well, you can do of course when you start off you need just to get all the assignments running, and you can do anything that brings your spaghetti in the house or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't want to do more of that work, then just don't communicate it.
Yeah.
If you totally are in like but you also do some kind of horeca stuff,
Mm-hmm.
perfect that you do it, but just don't tell it, because if you're gonna tell it, then you get more out of it.
Yeah.
So if you are perfect, you love to program these kind of things, then you have to bring that one across.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't like the aesthetics too much, but you also have to do it, of course, in a bit.
Yeah, just do it, but don't make that the focal point of, for example, your demo day presentation. Then just basically show your code. And show how impressive that is.
Yeah, and be proud in that one. And, and I think we can be even way more expressive in that, because now we maybe try to mimic the prettiness of the academy, while the things that we do in like programming or this ecosystem development or material search or whatever the expertise is,
Mm-hmm.
are often way more impressive. So leave the prettiness aside a bit.
Yeah. Then maybe it's interesting to round off our conversation to have you answer the question of, okay, these 20 projects that you spot on the demo day or that you can tell to your acquaintances, why do they catch your eye? What is it that stands out to you or that makes a presentation interesting to you to actually take the step of recommending it to someone else?
The first thing, of course, it's the eye thing. So the very first thing is my expertise and what I'm looking for at that moment in time. The second thing is that what I see is then attractive to that area, and to be honest, it's very often something related to the body. And then the third aspect on yes or no recommending is that you also have a nice story, or that you can talk about it. And you don't have to be like this American perfect selling You can do it like totally in your zone and make it small, but it should fit you. It should fit the project. If you are doing something on like a very delicate process on healthcare and you're next to it screaming, then that for me is a no-go.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be able to say something about it and be there.
As yourself, basically.
As yourself. And I think those, and the very first thing, you can't do anything about as a student. It's only the person who's passing along who has that right. And the second one, the thing that something is being really shown off as something special. So yes, this piece of code, this pile of explorations, this one perfectly finished skirt, this garment who's being set in this total ecosystem or whatever. I'm just trying to come with this 3D printer in the gel. Those are the eye thingies, and then the story.
Well, thank you very much for your insights. I really loved basically everything I heard from you, and I will be sure to mention the details of your exhibition at this Design Week in the outro of this podcast. So thank you very much for sharing your time and your perspectives.
Very welcome.
Thanks again so much to Marina for joining me for this episode of How to Demo. And be sure to check out her expo at the Dutch Design Week, Fashion, Future Design for the Present. I'll leave links in this episode description so you will be able to find all the information you need. So, did our conversation get you thinking about the demo day? Maybe you've got some questions for me, or you got really excited and you have epic ideas for improving the demo day that you'd like to share. I would love to hear from you in all of these cases. You can contact me via Facebook or Instagram at Laura Toeters, send an email to info@laurapeters.com, or just come say hi in the graduate space. How to Demo is a Studio Het is Ik production made possible by lots of awesome people at Industrial Design. A special shout out to the Kid Salim, Beaks and Little Showcase for letting me use their song Demo Day as soundtrack for the podcast. And thank you, most of all, my epic listeners. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll meet you in the next episode of How to Demo.